I understand how our American military works. I understand foreign policy issues. And I will assure you, by the way, that if I were your president, I would have never urged an invasion of Iraq.
Senator Jim Webb speaking in Iowa on Friday night. That event, the first time all 5 Democratic candidates have appeared on stage together. And Senator Webb is back with us now. I want to go to the shooting in Chattanooga. You are a Marine. You saw many men die. Do you agree that recruiters should have, I think I know you do agree that recruiters should have guns, they should be allowed to carry?
Well, they should have the means to defend themselves, and this has dramatically changed since 9/11. There's a basic logic here. If we don't know who these shooters are going to be, and we do know that one of their targets that they're focusing on are military people in uniform, then it's just logical that we should provide them the means to defend themselves if they become under any sort of attack like this. That doesn't mean you have to turn a recruiting office into a bunker, as that was being discussed before. But
these are in civilian areas. I think that's the difference. They're in strip malls.
Well, we don't take firearms away from police officers. There should be some means for these people to defend themselves. I had a long talk with the Chief of Staff of the Army after the Fort Hood incident, which also was on a military base. There was not one military person in that gathering that had a firearm. I grew up in the military. Firearms were normal in these situations when I was growing up. By the time they called the police to get in there to help them, they had 13 dead people.
How do you see that playing out? I know one of the things we talk about with the military is they're not police officers. The MPs are police officers. So how do you see a scenario playing out like that if people were armed inside? Well,
it's like I say, I'm not talking about turning these different centers and bases into fire bases, but at the same time, they should have the ability to defend themselves in some way. Think of it the other way around. How would you or I like to be sitting there in one of these chairs, in a profession of arms, familiar with weapons, waiting to see if someone's going to come in and do harm to you and not having the ability to defend yourself?
I'm going to leave that to you. I want to move to the Iran deal. You say you have a lot of concerns, and we're going to read it. What concerns you most, and if you were still in the Senate, would you vote against it?
Well, first, I have been a proponent of these sorts of approaches toward rogue regimes. I worked with Vietnam in terms of normalizing relations there. I led the change in Burma in terms of opening up that regime. I just have very serious concerns here. Number one is, even if all of these processes worked, and I respect the people who put them together, at the end of 10 years, what are we going to have? Have we now given our endorsement of the fact that Iran will eventually obtain nuclear weapons? And then secondly, the process beginning now, I think we've got to be very careful in terms of how it affects the strategic balance in the region in terms of signals that we send, not just in terms of who's got, how many conventional weapons.
And I hate to say be quick on this because it's your entire campaign, but we'll let you go campaign. How do you think your prospects look for being president, and why do you want to be president? You stayed in the Senate one term.
Well, I've had 4 different periods of public service in my life, and I've been able to move out of public service for a while and look at things differently. So, one term in the Senate is a term and a half of a presidency. It wasn't a short period of time. I've had 5 years in the Pentagon.
So why do you want to be president?
I'm very concerned about where we're going in this country, and I think we're going to see some dramatic changes in terms of how we approach our economic fairness issues, and we really need a commander-in-chief who understands how to deal with these issues.
Thank you very much for joining us, Senator Webb.